What's up, everybody? This is the Jedi. So I'm not really sure who I need to shout out because Netty Fees, I don't know how to say that. I know sent me a link um, with regard to this. Want to say the Vigilant One MW may have sent something. I don't know, y'all, but I'm only doing it because of the cases that have come before this now, the timing of it. We've had three brothers die in the last 4 days at the hands of these white devils. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's a hanging in a park in Atlanta. Now, we want to get into this and find out what's going on. And I'm also doing it because I feel as though this will be a story that we probably want to follow, especially if, well, depending on what they're going to say in the article. All right, let's see what they say in the article, and then I will curtail my marks. I will curtail my remarks accordingly. All right. Breaking: Piedmont Park hanging referred to FBI. All right. I'm already don't appreciate the picture because I always tell you nothing gets on the page. Somebody thought about it. So why this picture of this black officer being so prominent? You see, it seems like a minor thing, but I tell you, nothing is minor. That's one of the things that I constantly preach to you guys because I want you. That's the thinking that I desperately want my people to be in. I need you to understand that everything is just think of it like a scavenger hunt. You know, and so everything is a piece to the puzzle. Everything is a clue. Everything is a clue in this society. When you get to that thinking, you will understand that a whole new realm of understanding will open up for you. All right. The case of a black man found hanging from a tree right there. We're over it. Found hanging from a tree in Piedmont Park has been referred to the FBI, said Atlanta mayor. All right. Not going to get into names if I don't have to. All right. The mayor's statement was issued Thursday afternoon, hours after social media users expressed outrage about the Atlanta Devils Department contention the scene was consistent with a suicide. An autopsy has not been performed. All right. This is a problem already. This is a black man, and you want me to believe he was found hanging from a tree in Piedmont Park. You tell me you found him in his bathroom, I could allow it. Somewhere in his house or something. But a tree? A black man? Nah. And what did the header say? Has been referred to the FBI. That tells me no matter what they're going to say after this ain't no suicide. Let's read on though. You know. Uh, Piedmont Park became a trending topic on Twitter where some users called the death, quote, another modern day lynching, end quote. I am deeply saddened by the loss of a young man's life last night in Piedmont Park. This is from the mayor. This disturbing event demands our full attention. The Atlanta Devil Department is conducting a robust investigation into the death, and I have asked to receive regular briefings on the status of the investigation. I'm over it. Devils were called to the Charles Allen entrance of the park just before 5 a.m. Thursday and discovered a man's body hanging from a tree by a rope, police spokesman Donald somebody said. Emergency officials arrived on the scene and pronounced the man dead. All right. There was no discernible sign of a struggle or foul play, said the spokesperson. A Fulton County medical examiner concurred that the death was consistent with a suicide. Just a second. What do they just tell us up here? They said an autopsy has not been, right there, I'll highlight it for you. An autopsy has not been performed. But then down here, they say a Fulton County medical examiner concurred that the death was consistent with suicide. How do you know? You just said there was no autopsy. So you don't even get to make a statement. Well, it's not suicide, or it's not murder, but it's consistent with suicide. But you haven't done an autopsy. You see this? Listen. Plus, you start out telling me this is the FBI. I'm telling you guys once again, this is bullshit, and this is how you discern your information. You understand what I'm saying? Nah. And it's a black man at that, and we don't commit suicide like that. We don't do that. In fact, we're going to look at numbers. We're going to pull up numbers and see what, just so we're not pulling it out of our ass. We're going to pull up numbers and see what is the numbers on suicide. What are they? You said, let's not talk about it. Let's look at it. So this is a problem. Twitter users, many of them on edge in the wake of the 2 recent videotape shooting deaths. See, they're on the same length as me. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm even electing to do this. I just told you, because of the timing, and it just, and it's a hanging, and, come on. And so they're saying now, Twitter users, many of them on edge in the wake of recent videotape shooting deaths of black men at the hands of white devils, weren't buying it. All right? The mayor asked the public for patience. We're not going to be patient. 2 words we don't deal in, everybody. Patience and peace. We won't do that. That's out now. Throw that out of your vocabulary. Throw that out of your psyche. We don't do patience and we don't do peace. We're over that. I always tell you, if you want something you never had before, you must do things you've never done before. That is the form. Listen, I could sell a lot of books just with that. I'm giving it to you for free. That is the key to success. Whatever it is you're trying to do in life, I don't care what it is, if you can keep that in mind, you'll be successful. If you want something you never had before, you've got to do shit you never did before. That is the formula. Do you understand? Listen, Michael Jackson, the biggest star ever in the history of ever. One of the reasons why Michael was successful is because Michael always, if it had been done before, he wanted nothing to do with it. Wanted nothing to do with it. Thriller was the biggest album ever because nobody had ever done film shorts for videos. Michael said, I think I'll just do a little short movie. Why not? With acting and everything. Let's call in a big movie producer, John Landis. In fact, when he called John Landis was like, okay, I do motion pictures. Like, why are you calling me, Michael? He was like, I know, but I want you to do my music video. Get your ass. You see? And the rest is history. But if Michael had done it, so if it had been done before, Michael wanted nothing to do with it. If he had even done it before, he wanted nothing to do with it. Unless he was taking it to the next level, to the stratosphere. Then, okay, now, we'll do it. Again, if you want something you never had before, you got to do shit you never did before, everybody. And so we've been patient and we've been peaceful, and that has gotten us nowhere. We got to try something else. No patience, no peace. Everything we have seen suggests that there was no foul play involved. But I want to state clearly and unequivocally that we will not prejudge the situation. Well, you already did. You already said it's suicide, and then you said there was no autopsy, and the coroner comes and says, well, it's consistent with suicide. Everything you've told us up to now suggests that you've already prejudged the situation. And then he says, but I always tell you, nothing follows but bullshit. But I want to state clearly and unequivocally, using a $50 word, that we will not prejudge the situation, the mayor said. Atlanta PD will share all evidence discovered in the course of the investigation We asked the public support for the public support and cooperation as we work to resolve this matter. Nah. The man's name was not released. Again, the man's name was not released. That's the last sentence they give us. That also tells you it's not a suicide. Period. Because otherwise it would say pending notification of kin. Anytime you've seen anything, listen, this is not a suicide, everybody. You got a black man in a park hanging from a tree. That's out. Secondly, black folks don't commit suicide like that at the rates that anybody else does, and certainly we don't hang ourselves from no goddamn tree. We just don't do that. Plus, the fact that it's in the paper and that they brought in the FBI. It's like I just saw the space shuttle launch, right? And y'all know what that looks like. I just saw the space shuttle launch. And they come up and go, well, there's no evidence that there's a space shuttle launch here. But I just saw the damn thing ignite and go into the air. What? You know? So this is the equivalent of that. All right. But I want to now do our jurisprudence. I want to now go and pull up some statistics, find some shit on suicide. So let me do that. All right. Here we go now. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Suicide statistics. Let's bring this in a little bit. Well, we're already at 150. All right. While this data is the most accurate, we estimate the numbers to be higher. Stigma surrounding suicide leads to underreporting, and data collection methods critical to suicide prevention need to be improved. All right. That's their disclaimer. Excuse me. Damn it. Let's see what these bubbles are. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. Each year, 42,000, we'll round that up, 43,000 Americans die by suicide. For every suicide, 25 are attempted. Suicide costs the U.S. $44 billion. How does suicide cost money? The fuck is that? Suicide costs the U.S. $44 billion. How the fuck? How? That's another video. Trust. They kill me. They always got some money number for some bullshit. I can't. I'm not gonna get into it. That's not the focus of our. That's not in our scope right now. All right. Additional facts about suicide in the U.S. The annual age-adjusted suicide rate is 12.9 per 100,000 individuals. On average, there are 117 suicides per day. Firearms account for almost 50% of all suicides. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women. White devils accounted for 7 out of 10 suicides in 2014. We already knew that. White folks kill themselves more than damn black folks, and especially fucking white men. The rate of suicide is higher in middle age. White men in particular. There it is right there in writing, alright? Just in case we can't all see it. White men in particular. White devils. Please click on a state or states below to view the state's national data. We don't need that. Alright, now. Please click the state. We don't need that. Okay, suicide rates by age. In 2014, the highest suicide rate, 19.3, was among people 85 years or older. The second highest rate, 19.2, occurred in some between 45 and 64 years of age. Younger groups have been consistently lower suicide rates than middle-aged and older adults in 2014. Adolescents and young adults aged 15 to 24 had a suicide rate of 11.6. Suicide rates by race and ethnicity in 2014. All right, the highest U.S. suicide rate was 14.7. The highest suicide rate, 14.7, was among white ass people. Period. I'll read it again. In 2014, the highest U.S. suicide rate was 14.7% was among whites, and the second highest rate, 10.9, was among American Indians and Alaskan Natives. Much lower and roughly similar rates were found among Hispanics, Asians, or Hispanics 6.3, Asians and Pacific Islanders 5.9, and blacks at 5.5. We're at the bottom of the damn letter. We don't kill ourselves. God damn it. Note that the CDC records Hispanic origin separately from the primary racial or ethnic group of whites. That's another video, because trying to help you out to understand that. Well, just that's another video. I'm not going to get into it. I'll read it again. Note that the CDC records Hispanic origin separately from the primary racial or ethnic group of white, black, American Indian, or Native, Alaskan Native, and Asian or Pacific Islander, since individuals in all these groups may also be Hispanic. Again, that gets very complicated, because I'm telling you, first of all, Hispanic is a culture, it's not a race, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm tempted to, but I'm not. Damn it, I'm not. All right. We're going to keep this on suicide right now. Now, suicide methods. I don't think we need to get into that, because I've shown that we don't really commit suicide all like that. All right. Let me pull up another one. It's not a white thing, the mythology of suicide in black American lives. Is this the one I want right now? Well, let's see. It says, there are many reasons to doubt that Sandra Bland's death in police custody was suicide, not least of which because it's harder for the black community to imagine killing ourselves when living in the U.S. means dying early anyway. I love it. The idea that Sandra Bland, the 28-year-old African-American woman who died in police custody in Waller County, Texas, killed herself feels suspicious for many reasons. More than 600 people have been killed by police in the United States this year. This is so let me see what the date on this is. Alright, this is dated, this is from July of last year. Alright. I just want, but it's about suicide, so I wanted to see if there's, because if they're just going to talk about Sandra, then I don't want to get into it. I want to just stay on suicide. Two days later, okay, the autopsy report classified. According to the centers, let's see, but because African American women are the least likely demographic to kill themselves. Wait, I'll read that. Okay, the autopsy report classed Sandra's death as a suicide by hanging, and authorities have said no evidence. Said there's no evidence to support that she died by another means. But part of the reason it's hard to believe Bland killed herself is not just because videos appear to show her being hunted down by police, but because African American women are the least likely demographic to kill themselves. Okay, understand that. Cause for what? You see what I'm saying? A sister's gonna kill your ass before she kill her own self. You see what I'm saying? And but just black folks in general, we're not prone to that. That's not really part of our culture. You see what I'm saying? But that's not really in us. That's just not really in us. That's white folks. Oh my God, the stock market crashed, and they jump out a window. You see? They ready to kill themselves at a heartbeat. And think about all the talk shows that we've seen over the decades. And anytime they do something on suicide, I was ready to slit my wrist, and I tried to kill myself 14 times, and I did this in the third, and it's never one of us sitting up there. We don't do this. You see? And when it happens, it's an anomaly. But it's not part of our culture. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, adult black women in 2013 killed themselves at an age adjusted rate of about 2 per 100,000. This is much less than Asian Pacific Islander women, about 3 per 100,000. It's lower than Native American women, which is 5.34, and white women at 6.27. So I'm saying even white women are the highest under the white men. The most suicide-prone demographic, white men, killed themselves at a rate 11 times more frequently than black women. Period the damn end. The skepticism about Bland's suicide is well founded, especially because she is supposed to have done it so after trying to post bail. Okay, they're getting into her case now. I don't want to get into that. Um, but I'm seeing stuff that looks like it's valuable, everybody. Okay, we're gonna come back to this. No, we're on it. Let me just do this now because I've got one other one that I want to pull up. But I got to read this now because I'm seeing like little words that are morsels that are I find intriguing. Let's see. It's just hard to imagine us killing ourselves. Let's see. Before that, the skepticism about Bland's suicide is well founded, especially because she's supposed to have done it while trying to post bail. All right, despite the seeming implausibility, um, of her decision to end her own life, she may have chosen to do so. Some studies have found suicide can be considered a white thing among African Americans. That's the whole thing I'm saying. It's a white thing. All right. Uh, Anathema to a culture noted for its resilience in the face of racial discrimination and oppression. But suicide is not an insufficient it's an insignificant issue for black Americans. Okay, that's fine. Like I say, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen at all, but like I say, when it does, it's an anomaly. And you would think it would be highest amongst us because we got to deal with these fucking white devils every goddamn day around the clock. That's enough to want to kill yourself. But I don't feel homicidal. I don't feel suicidal. I feel homicidal. You see what I'm saying? That nah, I love myself too much. I am not taking my damn life. So I'm saying nah. So it goes on. A recent study found that black children aged 5 to 11 are twice as likely to kill themselves as white children. That's because of the effect of the white devils. You see what I'm saying? There's more deeper in that statement, everybody. We'd have to see a full study on that. We'd have to know these children, and we'd have to really go inside of their atmosphere and all that kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? But that's also a signal. Because, see, like I say, culturally and historically, we don't kill ourselves. So when you see this, as recent studies found that black children aged 5 to 11 are twice as likely to kill themselves as white children, that means that's an effect from the white devil. And suicide is the third leading cause of death of young black men ages 15 to 24. See, that's the problem. Because they got white friends. See, I guarantee you, those all are, they live in white neighborhoods, and they have white friends. They're not real black people, so we don't count that. Alright? It's just hard to imagine us killing ourselves when living in the U.S. means we die early anyway. That's the damn truth. I think African Americans, more so than a lot of other groups, certainly more than whites, are socialized to accept that life will disappoint them, said Dr. Sherman James, research professor of uh, epidemiology at and African American Studies at Emory University. James created the concept of John Henryism, named for the folk hero John Henry, a former slave turned railroad worker who died trying to compete against a steam powered. Okay, we know the story. We know John Henry. All right, I'm over it. Over the centuries, African Americans developed a variety of cultural mechanisms leading away from depression and fatalism. James explained the prevention or the preservation of good mental health at the cost of one's psychological health. Indeed, African American men have a shorter life expectancy than white men, living on average about 5 years less. That's because we ain't killing their ass. African American women are more likely to die in childbirth, more prone to get cancer, and die about 4 years younger than a white bitch. Black Americans in general experience health disparities at all stages of life, from increased infant mortality to higher rates of childhood obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, to being twice as likely to be killed by guns. You see, and on it goes. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but again, we don't kill ourselves like that. We just don't. We just don't. And so that makes this whole Piedmont Park suicide thing ridiculous on its face. Just ridiculous. For all the reasons I've stated, and then also bringing you now these suicide statistics. The signs all point that that's not what happened. It's just not. Okay, last one. I want to just scan this one a little bit. Whites more likely to commit suicide. No big surprise there. In the U.S., suicide is the 11th highest cause of death for all ages, sexes, and ethnicities. In 2005, 33,000 people killed themselves. Wow. That's almost 90 people a day, and suicide is the third cause of death for teenagers and young adults. The rate is slightly higher for the elderly. So it's the young and the old. I can't even read. I don't know what this is right here. So it's something, the young or the old. I don't know what the fuck. I'm over it. All right. Here's what I want to say, because they mentioned the elderly in one of the previous pieces that we looked at. Now, we'd have to go inside those numbers and figure out how are they collecting data and what parameters and demographics are they including. Like, are they saying when the elderly, are they saying like elderly that are in the hospital and say, doctor, I want you to go ahead and pull the plug because I already have a directive that if you can't heal me, then go, it's because I don't see old people just killing themselves. I don't see that. I don't see that. And if they are, then that again must be white people. Who is most likely to commit suicide? Overwhelmingly men, white men. In fact, they totaled 24,000 of the suicides for 2005. See what I'm saying? That's 72% of the total suicides. Next came white heifers at 19%. See, I don't need to go on. I've made my point. So this Piedmont Park thing, this is not a suicide, everybody. FBI doesn't get involved in some citizen killing themselves. They don't do that. So let us continue to follow this story. Anything that is significant, and talk back to me. Let me know what you guys think. I leave it here. I am the Jedi.